Hello everyone, myself Viraj Nandiotekar. I'm a certified software testing professional. In the previous session, we have understood what is a broken access control vulnerabilities with its some of types, which are IDOR, insecure direct object references, and directed traversal attack. In these sessions, we are going to understand other type of broken access control vulnerability, that is a CSRF, which is also known as a cross-site request forgery, and we will understand its impact, and also we will try to identify on one of an learning application. So before understanding what is a CSRF, we will have a quick recap over the client-server architecture and broken access control vulnerability. Now, what is a client? Client is nothing but a host machine that is requesting to the remote machine. Remote machines are nothing but a server. Now, what is a server? Server basically, servers are the remote machine that a client is requesting for. The server machines contain some server application that host the files that a client that a client is requesting for. Now, why do we need a client server architecture? The only reason we need a client server architecture is for communication purpose. Now, here communication means to transmit the data from the client to the server and receive the data from server to client. Now here the communication to takes place. Now this entire communication takes place over the network. So to take communication to take place over the network, each machine on the network should be uniquely identified. For this, a unique IP address has been allocated to each machine over the network so that the data can be transmitted from one point to another. So here was a client server architecture. We will also have a recap on the broken access control vulnerability. So what from the previous session we have understood what was a broken access control vulnerability is that it is a sits on the top first position on OS top 10 list vulnerabilities 2021 when application fails to sanitize user input request and allows access to unauthorized resource, then this loophole or vulnerability is also known as a broken access control vulnerability. These vulnerabilities are identified on the server side. Why OS has defined it as at the top first position in OS top 10 list vulnerability 2021 is the main reason is because these are the commonly identified issues on the top tier web application, and once this issue are been identified, it can cause a severe impact on business reputation. And if this loophole is bigger, or if the size of this vulnerability is big, then this might allow the suspect or the attacker to take complete control over the user account. So here was a quick recap on the what broken access control vulnerability is. Now we will understand today in this session that is cross-site request forgery, which is also known as CSRF. CSRF is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to trick user to perform actions that they don't intended to perform. Now uh, we will understand uh, the definition what we have defined, what I've defined now with this diagram. So let us consider this as an e-commerce application. So this is a e-commerce web app server, and the client is requesting to this to access the resource to this e-commerce web application. But for the first step, he will authenticate himself as a user. Now here the app server recognize him as an authorized user and provide an access to the resources. Now here after the client decide to reset his password. Now he goes onto the reset password link slash reset that is and he tries to reset as test123. Now here comes a suspect user or attacker into the picture. Now your attacker also sign himself as a normal user, and he knows that a client has an access to the client is always accessing this particular e-commerce web application. Now what he will do, he will uh, he will get this reset password URL, and he will update his own password into this particular password field, reset password URL, and he will send this crafted URL to client. Now here the client receives this crafted URL. Once the client clicks on the link, his password gets changed. How? Because the client session is active. He has not logged out from this particular web application, and his sessions is still live. So once he click on this link, his request goes to the server that please reset my password from test123 to new password. Now, but this new password was set by this suspect user. So here the clients get tricked into the by the suspect user, and now here the suspect user uh, can sign in as a client with this new password and get a complete access over the user suspect victim user's account, and he can complete the transaction. So I hope you have understood what is a CSRF. Now we will understand it by with a live demonstration. For this, I'll just enable my other screen. Okay, yes, it's enabled. So what we will try to do, we will try to reset the password of an user. So I hope the screen has been recording. Okay, so here we have some of the user within the application. So we will try to reset the password for this particular user, that is a Viraj123. So we have this email for him, and this is an existing password, Viraj at the rate 1197 and Viraj at the rate 1197. So we will try to change it to new password. For this, what we will do, first of all, we will try to inspect, and we will grab this particular form. We will copy this form. I'll just open a notepad, and I'll paste this form over into this notepad, and we have to observe over this particular form action attribute. You can see it is saying that his send this form to this particular server. Now this server, in order to send this form to the server, first we need a base URI. So what we will do, we will just grab this base URI from this particular of this particular application, and we will just set it into this particular form. Okay, now this is become the complete endpoint URI that is valid. So what we will do, we will just try to save this form into our local environment as dummy2.html. Okay, let me check this dummy2 where it is. Yeah, so we will try to open this form in, let's open this form into incognito mode. So yeah, we have opened this form in incognito mode. Let me check once again the existing password. The existing password is Viraj1197, Viraj11 at the rate 1197. So let me change it to Viraj at the rate 100, and let me provide the existing credentials. Okay. Now, if I try to reset and the server allowed me to reset the password, then this type of a vulnerability is known as a CSRF. Let me check. Okay, so we are redirected to log sign in page. Let me come to the SQL part, and I'll just fire the query of the user table. You can see the transaction is completed, like successfully completed. That means we are able to reset the password successfully, and this application is vulnerable to the CSRF attack. So I hope you have got through this live demonstration. What is a CSRF? So let me also define what are its impact. Uh, so impact, yeah. So from diagram we have seen that a CSRF attack causes a victim user to carry out unintentionally action, that is by clicking on the crafted URL. This might be able to change his email address, might be change his password. Depending upon the nature of an action, the attacker might try to gain the full control over this user account. If the compromised user has an admin role, then within this application, an attacker might be able to take full control of all the application's data and functionality. So yes, this is what the CSRF is, which is one of a type of an broken access control vulnerability, and I hope you have understood it. So yeah, that is much from this session. Thank you.